Back again, dippity-da. Trying to show another little aspect about my warped sense of humor. I'm a little bit of an amateur political scientist, among many other things. I'm as the old Alison Krauss song goes, jack of all trades, master of none. There's been some comments made to me on Facebook recently about people believing it's going to come down between Bernie Sanders and Donald Trump for president. God help us, but I think it's really too soon to call. And I think New Hampshire is a good sign of that. Actually, both of the primaries have been a good sign of it, because Iowa, the first one around, Cruz won, and the second time, he was what? Cruz was second or third or fourth, and Joe or Kasich or whatever his name is came out of nowhere. I hadn't even heard about him, didn't even know he was running, and all of a sudden, he was number 2. So I think on the right, there's going to be a lot more give and take, ebb and flow. And I think there's a real big wild card on the right side of the political spectrum. I believe that wild card could still be Rand Paul. I say that because he only suspended his campaign. It would be well within reason to assume that he would reinstate it should the situations, the political stars align for it to happen. And it actually may not be a bad thing for him to suspend his campaign temporarily, because it has been questionable as to how he was handling it. Oops, sorry. Got a little lazy there, and you're looking at the dirty ceiling of the car. And it's true. He hasn't really handled his campaign the best in the world to portray who he is and whatnot. And I think if he spent a little bit of time to rethink things, reassess the situation, he could fall back, punt, do a little bit more campaigning, get a little bit more resources built up, and come in and hit a good solid punch once a few more of the other knuckleheads are out of the race. That way he'll be able to get a little bit more airtime, get a little bit more attention. He'd get free publicity by doing it, and he'd be able to restructure his campaign and possibly breathe new life into it. I think that could be a key factor of the GOP side of things. That and the fact I think it's still really a toss-up. They say South Carolina will make it. Well, will make or break it. Well, they said that about New Hampshire. And one thing we've seen is there's been nothing in New Hampshire that made or break anything. If anything, it shows the instability of the whole situation. On both sides, really. As you switch over to the Democrat side, they're saying Trump. Or, not Trump, but Sanders. I'm not seeing that. The establishment definitely wants another Clinton in office. That's why the whole superdelegate thing is coming into play like in 2008. Will it be a replay of 2008 where the superdelegates were supporting Hillary or whoever, and then when they kept putting support behind Obama, that they switched and backed Obama? Will that come into play the same in this situation? I don't know. There's really 2 wild cards in the Democrat primaries. Can make or break it. More so than how Sanders responds to the superdelegates in New Hampshire, more so how the performance goes in South Carolina. There's really 2 wild cards. There's still rumors abound that Joe Biden might run. And I know that's just like the little murmurs in the political world. You read an article, campaign insiders or insiders in the Democrat Party say Biden might run still. And that's, of course, you get a lot of that bull, but at the same time, that's still a possibility if there's enough perceived weakness in the 2 main candidates, in Sanders and Clinton. is possible he could run. I don't think it will happen, and here's why. With the announcement of Michael Bloomberg, for two reasons. One, the announcement of Michael Bloomberg looking at running. Bloomberg is well known. A lot of people on the left like him. And unlike Biden really would have to start with nothing, kind of late in the game, and would have to try and play catch up with campaign contributions. Bloomberg wouldn't have to worry about that because he's a friggin' billionaire. He's already got the financial resources. If he wants to run, he's there. Like Trump, he could be there and he could make it happen and establish himself as a candidate before he'd have to do any fundraising. That's a fact. If anyone was going to be the upset, it would be Bloomberg, in my opinion. I think whether or not he decides to run will make or break the Democrat primary. That's just my 2 cents. Another thing that would come into play, I think, for Bloomberg and Sanders is their age. I think Sanders is 74. I want to say Bloomberg is 73. In 2008, the left made a big deal about John McCain being 71 and that he was turning 72 right before the election. He was too old. I'm thinking that's going to come into play because even if Bloomberg does run, if either him or Sanders looks like they're going to pull ahead, you can expect possibly Clinton, but definitely the right, they're going to switch from attacking Hillary Clinton to pulling up clips of Sanders supporters on the left saying John McCain was too old in 2008 at the age of 71. They're going to use that against him. Now, I think that's why part of the reason why they're wanting Hillary in is because she is younger. I also think it's the same thing with Obama. They wanted to be the first party to have a black president or just a minority race in general, and that put the GOP on defensive. And it's the same thing with women. They're wanting to do that. They're wanting to make them, the Democrat Party, the big fighters for gender and race, whatever. And I think that's why they're wanting Hillary. They're wanting more so than anyone because they want to put it on. The GOP has a war on women, same as they have a war going on, claiming a war on minorities. That's what it goes into play. The sucky part is the GOP knew this going into 2008. They blew off Obama because he was not known. And, you had Hillary Clinton running then that was known. They thought he was just a nobody who would last 2 primaries and be gone. Well, here it is 8 years later. And for minorities, they have Ben Carson, who's nothing, and as far as political experience goes, he has nothing. You have Rubio and you have Cruz. Yeah, that's the best they can do. As far as women go, 2012 they had Michelle Bachmann, make of that what you will, and this time they had Carly Fiorina, or however as you say her name. In 8 years, they still haven't come up with a viable, in my opinion, a real good viable minority or female candidate to put forth. They've had 8 years. They haven't cultivated anyone, propagated, however you want to say it. They haven't put the time into it to get someone in there that would fit the bill that they could use to say, oh no, look, this is who we're running. Don't believe what they're saying over here on the left. 8 years, they still haven't done it. They're still trying to react to Obama getting elected in 2008, and they can't do it. Make of that what you will. You can agree, you can not agree. That's just my opinion. Opinions are like buttholes. Everyone has at least one. So long.